Hey everybody, this is Jim from Off Day with Ballpark Nation. Andy and I will be right with you, but we wanted to start the episode off by sharing with you some of our favorite Christmas moments from Saturday Night Live.
I got a Lego Millennium Falcon!
And I burned my arm in the oven. It hurt pretty bad, but I didn't even scream because I keep the pain inside of me.
Well, there are lots of great treats at this time of year. Zucchini bread, fruitcake. But the thing that I most like to bring out at this time of the year are my balls.
The full name of this product, as appears in stores all over the country, is Johnny Switchblade Adventure Punk. No, I mean, nothing goes wrong. These little girls buy them, they play games, they make up stories, nobody gets hurt, So Barbie takes a knife once in a while, or Ken gets cut, there's no harm in it, as far as I can see,
You stay where you are, George Bailey. You're in enough trouble already.
You made one mistake, Mr. Potter. You double-crossed me and you left me alive.
Now, wait just a second. I'll give you the money back.
I don't want the money. I want a piece of you, Potter.
I want to meet Rudolph.
Rudolph isn't here, Gina.
Then how the did Santa get here, David?
No, just relax.
David! Use your hand!
We've got appearances by all your church favorites, like Devin, the newly atheist teen who's making a point of not saying the prayers. Pastor Pat, who sings everything at constantly changing speeds.
All glory and honor is yours, Almighty Father, forever and ever.
I can't believe your cousin made the drive.
I know. God, it was so nice to see him.
Yeah.
Why do I have to take it off?
It's my dinner table in front of my kids.
No,
you can
you're
take it off.
racist against whites. You're racist against whites.
She is.
Right? But it was a December to remember.
It's Alexis. We don't have the money for this, Nathan.
We don't?
No, we don't. Your father doesn't. Your father hasn't worked since last March.
What?
Yeah, COVID has hit a lot of people hard, and I'm no exception.
Nathan, you got fired in March 2019. COVID had nothing to do with it.
Hey, pal, I guess your old man's busted.
Leave me alone, please go away. I'm doing fine, just get away. Leave me alone, please go away. I'm doing fine, just get away.
Put that cocoa down. Cocoa is for cobblers only. You think I'm screwing around? I am not screwing around.
And if I had 4 wishes that I could make this holiday season, the first would be the crap about the kids. Definitely. Second would be for the 30 million. The third would be for all the power. And the fourth would be to set aside 1 month each year to have an extended 31-day orgasm.
This is taking longer than it should. But yeah, we are back here on Off Day. I don't know why we're having the technical layouts that we're having, but we are there we go. Now we're back. Andy, you picked some good ones. We picked some good ones. You and I was impressed too because we were all pretty multi-generational with our choices.
Well, I mean, we're a multi-generational show, Jim.
We started.
And some of them, I don't know what that means. See?
No one, I don't think they do either.
It means nothing. I've had my kids explain it to me. It doesn't mean anything. I think we were talking last week about, me picking a couple things you had never seen before. I assume you're talking about the St. Joseph's Christmas Spectacular.
Oh my God. And as a
because if you're not Catholic, you don't get that at all.
As a longtime Catholic, let me just tell you, and of course, I could have probably played the entire 4-minute sketch and had that been amazing. But the cantor thing, whenever you get the cantor up there who thinks it's their time to audition for like American Idol, and so it's like maybe one of the hosts is sitting in the back of mass and is going to make their it's hysterical. My mother used to count the like plain white T-shirts at Easter. That was her thing when we would go to mass. It was like.
Well, if you were at St. Ambrose, there are a few of them.
more than a few. It's funny to me too because we did a whole. For those of you who have been watching the show for a while, we did a whole like SNL turns 50 like month-long celebration of just different types of sketches and hosts and things like that. Even when the show is weak, though, they usually nail something funny at Christmas. And Jessica and I, we can watch the December to Remember commercial over and over and over again, and it's never old. The Hallmark commercial, which I didn't even include in this montage, is always made. They always figure out a way for the holidays to figure this out and come up with at least one thing that's memorable.
Well, it goes to show, I guess, that there are universal thoughts that we all share that maybe we don't talk about, and that's the difference in a comedy writer versus maybe somebody else, or just a writer and somebody else. But my wife and I have had the conversation about the stupid Lexus commercials for literally decades. And before that, it's a giant truck that costs $80,000. And I don't know any married couple that just independently buy each other cars. How do you do that without getting the other person to sign? Here, sign this, but don't look at it for what it's for. Also, it's committing us to 5 years of payments.
Although after Jessica's been napping on the couch, I can probably get her to sign just about anything. And so
clearly you should get her a Lexus.
Yeah, well, she's over there going, please don't get me a Lexus.
Maybe you need to go to a snow-covered mountain, buy her a puppy, and she buys you a giant truck. Although in your family, that would be opposite.
Or we would have two puppies. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be one of
you too.
Yeah, we both. Oh my God, we both showed up with puppies. Yes, definitely. Fun to revisit. For as much as I'm a Hallmark guy, the Hallmark commercial also makes me laugh. That's why I didn't use it. I used it in my other show. I also love that your nickname today is Elliot Loudermilk.
Because
you can get a good shot at his back, Andy.
It is last night was 4 days before Christmas, which is when I traditionally watch Scrooged.
Where do you put Scrooged in your rankings of adaptations of A Christmas Carol?
I know I'm a simp for this movie, but it's number 2 right behind The Muppets Christmas Carol.
I would tell you what mine are, but that would mean people wouldn't go to Jim's Moving Picture Show, the most current episode, where I count down 10 of my favorites.
That feels like a spoiler. No, I mean, it is very much a product of its time. So I think that Scrooge came out in 88.
Yeah, 88.
So, the fashions haven't really translated to now, because I think even the kids are now wearing 90s clothes. So they've passed up whatever happened in 1988. But there's so many things within the movie. But the hook for me is the monologue at the end, the Bill Murray, and knowing that most of that was off the cuff and improv, and you could, again, maybe I'm just a simp for the movie, but it felt like he actually believed the things he was saying.
I think it's the best.
It gets me every time that I watch it, and I've literally been watching it every year since 1988. Those of you who like to count things can do math. We have liberal arts degrees.
Yeah, we did not. Yeah, I didn't. You don't end up in film school because you're good at calculus. Yeah, no, I think it's maybe Bill Murray's best performance. And again, on Jim's Moving Picture, I'll do the spoil. I actually have it number 1, slightly ahead of the Muppets because of that.
And Elliot Loudermilk is my choice today because he is Bob Cratchit.
He's Bob.
For those of you that can't do the translation,
that's right.
He's Bob Cratchit. He's a far more unhinged Bob Cratchit, but he's Bob Cratchit.
Hello, Wabbit. Yes, he's unhinged. Now, what we're going to do now is transition to, this is a sports show. We're going to welcome to the show Jeremy Garcia. He's the head coach of the St. Edwards Hilltoppers volleyball team. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Morning, y'all. Thanks for having me.
We are excited, man, because we're talking about the national champion Texas A&M Aggies, who, Andy, I'll start with you just from a vibes perspective, because I want to get into the X and O's with Jeremy. But, man, I think especially for it to come after the football game, which, yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate it. The wound is purely scabbed over, so it's great. No,
College Station has to like not even care at this point.
I mean, there were a couple thousand people at Easterwood Airport last night to welcome the ladies back. which is a big deal considering that there are no students in College Station right now. So people recognize what these women accomplished. Jamie Morrison did a fantastic job. He is now the standard bearer for coaches at Texas A&M because in his third season, after stepping away from volleyball for a period of time, turned a moribund, and I think that's fair to say, a moribund, middle-of-the-road program
See, you might not get math on this show, but with liberal arts majors, you get moribund.
You do. Turned it into a program not only that caught lightning, and if the announcer said lightning in a bottle one more time, I thought I was going to die. But really captured the momentum, got hot at the right time, but I think has built enough of a base that they should be the type of program that is in that conversation every year going forward. And with the recruiting ground in Texas that they have to choose from, as well as being able to go nationwide, when you win a national championship, you get that kind of exposure. This is a program that should be competing with the Kentuckys, the Nebraskas, the Texases of the NCAA year in and year out. Not a national championship every year, obviously, but certainly a team that is in the conversation, and that's what you hope for in 2025 sports.
Jeremy, they got hot. I mean, it looked like they, particularly, I watched most of the match yesterday with Kentucky. I mean, that was kind of uncompetitive. I mean, I know it had beats, but what was it about them that just got to the point where they were kind of like, I mean, like even you look at Texas got ran out of the gym in against Wisconsin. So what was it about that you saw in those games that just showed you that A&M was dominating like they were?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it was they didn't look a whole lot different than the beginning of the year. I think what they were trying to accomplish was the same, or like at least how they were trying to win was the same, which was passing the ball better than anybody else and then going really fast offensively. They just so happened to do it at the highest level the last 2 weeks of the season. So I don't know. It was kind of cool as a coach to watch a group buy into a system, and that they were good. I mean, they were good all year. They were top 10, top 15 all year. But the teams that they beat the last four matches, they did it by being who they were the whole time, and doing it the best they've ever done it. Because I don't know, they'd been doing it since that group had been together since January or whenever the semester started, or the winter semester started. So I think it was just A&M volleyball being better than everybody else. They were better at what they wanted to do, better than what everybody else wanted to do.
Can you give some perspective? We tried to do that on our show on last Friday, but give some perspective to what it means to beat Nebraska.
In Devaney. I want to say like it's equal to beating Texas and Greg, but it's not. Like it's bigger because it's, I don't know, 10, 11,000 fans that want nothing more than to see you lose. And I mean, the closest thing I have, so, I mean, this is just because of our childhood, but like Texas did the same thing in 2013, but it was in Omaha. Like it wasn't in their home gym. It was in Nebraska. So like it felt very part the Red Sea kind of vibe, but it's about other than I guess winning a national championship, it's probably the pinnacle of volleyball is winning a match in Bob Devaney. And in the postseason, like you send them home in that match. Like I don't know that it gets much better other than if you can win a national championship.
Yeah, it's almost like beating Nebraska. What used to be like beating Nebraska in 2003 in football, Andy, right?
Yeah, and I mean the path that A&M took, Nebraska was a giant stop on that. But you have the reverse sweep against Louisville to avoid elimination early in the regional. You beat Nebraska in Lincoln to eliminate them. You go face another number one seed in Pitt and sweep them for the first time. They haven't been swept all year. And then you go to do the same thing in Kentucky, a team that we lost to 3-1 in October. That's a historic run. And, you know, I think the women on this team, Ledecky and a couple of others were senior. The 9 seniors had been together, stayed through the transition, stayed through Morrison taking over the program. I don't know that you can discount getting a Kendall Stowers back from medical retirement and what she meant to that team, because, to use a baseball parlance, to me, she looked like the straw that stirred the drink for that team once the tournament came.
She was the Jose Altuve of that team.
I was going Reggie Jackson, but sure. And Jose Altuve, let's be fair, would be that little black thing that people try to drink out of at clubs. It's not really a straw. It's
He's so tiny. It's cute. Jeremy, Andy talked about A&M getting off the deck down 0-2 to go back and win. How hard is that as a coach to get your kids to realize you're not out of this? I thought, I'll go back to Texas a little bit. I thought we almost saw that against Wisconsin even.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is it, though, to get your kids to believe that they can't actually go out and win this and keep winning?
Yeah, incredibly hard. I think especially because of the demographic, right? Like 18 to 22-year-olds, even with 9 seniors. I mean, I imagine some of them have reverse swept somebody in their volleyball career, whether it's 12U volleyball or when they did it against Louisville, but it's convincing them that they can. But I don't know. I think that was like a microcosm of their season. Like they never stopped believing. The coaching staff got the kids to never stop believing, whether it was in the system they were running or just in the idea that they could win a match. But it's incredibly difficult because, I don't know, 3 or 4 points in that third set don't go your way and you could lose the group. Like it could just snowball. And they did it against a really good team too. Like that's, I think the really impressive part was not only did they reverse sweep Louisville, but Louisville is really good at volleyball. And it didn't matter. Like I don't know. It was the cliches that they weren't going to be denied, but it's, I think, one of the hardest things to do in sports, just because there is the marker at the end. Like there's 25 is when you want to try to get to. There's not a clock to stop you. And so it could feel endless if you're trying to reverse sweep somebody. But I don't know, in volleyball, you get to a 5th set, anything can happen at that point. So I think winning the 2 sets is harder than winning the 3rd. When you're coming back from 0-2.
And
I think this one does. Go ahead, Andy. I'm sorry.
Watching that match too, it's a momentum thing, right? So you lose the first 2 sets, not necessarily all that closely either. Louisville outplayed A&M for those 2 sets, and then you win that next set, and then you start seeing the belief a little bit more, and the momentum starts shifting, and they win the second set. And like you say, once you get to that 5th set, all bets are off because it's to use again baseball parlance, it's a brand new ball game. But it is
anything can happen in a game 7.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. But one team was up 2-0 and now is tied, and one team was down by 2 sets and has all the momentum on their side, and you just saw the steamroller start going through. And I think some of that momentum and some of that belief, whatever belief they had in themselves prior to that, it blossomed into something even greater. And I think that carried them through the Nebraska match, and then what happened once they got to Kansas City. So momentum's a real thing. You have to have the talent to back it up, obviously. And they did. Coaching was spot on. I can't say enough, proud of my school, obviously, but that this was, the thing I think also you said, Jim, the second 2 sets were a little bit boring because A&M was kind of dominant in those 2 sets. Kentucky was playing really high level volleyball during that entire time. It wasn't that they were making mistakes necessarily that were, blatant mistakes. It was that A&M was just outplaying them. So you had one team playing at a high level and one team that just elevated beyond that.
One of the things
was impressive to me.
One of the things that I was just impressed with for the whole tournament was just how I felt like in volleyball, more than maybe other sports, you can tell when you're watching 2 really evenly matched teams. And then how just 1 point doesn't go your way, Jeremy, to your point, it can feel like the end of the world in a way because, it felt like most of the games I was watching, it was almost like point, very few runs. And then you would get maybe 2 or 3. And then it just kind of felt over because that's how evenly matched everything felt to me.
Yeah. And I think this was probably the best postseason, at least that I can remember, in terms of level of play. And it started in the second round, I feel like, which that's been a trend the last 5 or 6 years, is the volleyball is getting better earlier in the postseason.
Sure.
But even the addition of the SEC tournament, like that Texas Kentucky match for the SEC final where Kentucky reverse swept Texas, like that was, I think, probably the best match I watched all year. Just in terms of point for point, both teams trying to do what they do best. But then when push came to shove, both teams were doing the same thing, because high-level volleyball is, you're just trying to bump set spike better than the other guys. So there's not a whole lot of complexity to it when you get to that kind of level and that kind of scenario. But yeah, like I was, as a fan, as being as neutral as I can, like obviously rooting for Texas, but I think just watching the sport itself was a really cool postseason, and the culmination of a first-time national champion is, I don't know, icing on the cake, I feel like.
So, Jeremy, as a coach with a program at St. Edwards, are there things that you can take from watching that D1 tournament and then go back to your team and say, look, these are the kind of things we need to be doing, or these are the kind of things we should be trying to do, or how does that play into
or getting them to buy in stuff you've been telling them, and now, hey, look, you just saw it play out?
Yeah, 100%. I think that was something that our staff did talked about from the jump, was we brought a lot of men's volleyball to our program, just in terms of like training style and what we were asking them to do, and convincing them that, hey, like, we know you're not going to jump and touch 12 feet, right? We know you're not going to hit the ball 70 miles an hour. That stuff they don't do what they do because they can do those things. They do them because it's system volleyball that's going to score points, or at least prevent the other team from scoring points. So, there's a little bit of confirmation bias, right? We try to go fast like A&M does. So, they'll probably call me out if I say something, they'll probably call me a smart ass. But like, hey, the national champion does it, so why can't, but I think the piece of just what we'll probably do, and what I would want to do, is show them what teams did after 20. Like, when you got to 20, how were they still taking rips at the ball, attacking wise? Were they still serving their butt off? Like, did they do anything different once it got stressful? And ideally, and I think the good teams, they don't do anything different.
Right.
They just stay true to what they've been doing for the last 4 months that got them to that spot. So yeah, it's a different level of athlete for sure. But what I've noticed is that's kind of the only difference. Volleyball's still volleyball. And you can still do some pretty cool things training wise, system wise. If you just get kids you got to tell them why. That's my biggest thing so far, is they want to know why we're doing something. But I think once they do that, then you can get them to do some pretty cool stuff, even though they're not the same level of athlete.
Man, as a former non-commissioned officer, I always hated the question why, but that's not this conversation. I will say this too, Andy. One of the things I noticed in that last set yesterday, and Orbit's moving the camera. He doesn't like the camera angle. A&M smelled blood in the water at the end, and they didn't it felt like they got more and more focused as the set progressed, like really wanting to close that out. And now my joke would be, are they afraid of battered Aggie syndrome? And that's why. But really and truly, I think it just shows you, like kind of what Jeremy said, right? Process is almost what matters more than result in a lot of ways. And the process is we keep attacking.
I think the thing that struck me more, and you can relate it back to the football game the day before, one team was very tentative, and the end result showed what being tentative will get you in a lot of opportunities at high-level competition. And one team, and I referenced this probably to you in text, kind of remember the Titans, leave no doubt. And that's where, in that third set, A&M, they didn't leave any doubt. There was a little bit of time towards the end where they were just trading points. But when you have an 8-point lead, you can afford to do that.
Sure.
There was never a point where they stopped being aggressive to the point. I mean, they won the whole match on a kill at the very end. That was a very aggressive hit from the middle, trying to get to the line. And I never pronounced her name right. Kazukoyo. That's not right. But anyway, the hitter just destroyed that ball. That was not a soft tap ball. I think it was something like 50 miles an hour coming off of her hand. So it was they played aggressive. They were the aggressor the entire time, especially once they got their feet under them, because they got way behind in that first set. And I think that's when you saw the belief pop back, because they were down 6 or 7 points in that first set and came back. That's really hard to do against a team the quality of Kentucky.
Yeah.
And from there, it was kind of game over because they continued to keep their foot on the pedal. And I think that all credit there goes to not only the women performing that, but the coaching staff for keeping them focused, not letting them, lose their minds a little bit and have the battered Aggie syndrome creep in the middle of that first set when that didn't look great. But just all credit goes, to Morrison, and all the credit he instilled in that team, all the belief he instilled in that team. From where I sit, he just did a masterful job, and in such a short time on campus.
One last thing on the volleyball team, and then I want to talk Texas defensive coordinator since we have Jeremy on. But Brian Davis, who I think most of you guys will remember, used to write for the Austin American Statesman, had a really good series of posts, and he was talking about volleyball parents. And Andy, we've talked on our show about how like there are no bigger saints in the world than baseball families, right? Because you're at the ballpark. You're at the ballpark 40 weekends a year, rain or shine, watching your kid play 9 little league games. And that's not easy for anybody to do. In my travels, I see lacrosse parents, I see volleyball parents, but they were talking about just where the level of like select volleyball is in Texas. All things being equal, this should be the state volleyball runs through, particularly with 2 flagship universities now that can say they can field national championship teams. You and I have talked to Andy about this is how it should be for all sports, in our opinion, because of just what the talent level is like athletically. But it feels like that could become the thing for volleyball at this point.
I think one of the things that the NCAA is going to need to recognize is that the Big Ten is historically the best conference in volleyball, and I don't know that that's going to continue to be true going forward, because like all other sports, there's a lot more athletes to choose from in the South. There's a lot more markets that generate that. There's a lot more club sport interest. Nebraska is still going to be Nebraska. Kentucky is still going to be Kentucky. Wisconsin, Pitt. You look at all the great schools that are playing volleyball at a high level. You're going to see more and more of those coming from the SEC and more of those coming from Texas. I think even a school like Baylor has the ability coming out of the Big 12 to be a program like that because of
if they don't murder each other.
Well, I was going to go with the emphasis they put on women's sports at that school.
Oh, you're going with a real problem. I was just making a joke about the fact that they commit malfeasance.
It's the time of miracles. I'm not going to.
It is Christmas
today. But yeah, I think that's, in my opinion, you're going to see a lot more of Texas A&M, and the Southern-based schools really taking a hold of the NCAA. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from A&M's run, but they were criminally underseeded based on the result. But based on what they did during the season, I think a 3 seed was kind of ludicrous, and I would be pretty pissed off if I was looking at that bracket and that's my 3 seed.
Yeah. Jeremy, what do you think about that, particularly from the recruiting end? I mean, just so much talent.
Yeah. It was reason number 2 or 3 that I took this job. Because we don't have to go very far to create an elite roster. Even for a Division II program.
Was number 1 the tacos?
Yeah, just don't tell my mom that. But I also think Texans are wildly competitive, right? So, what I mean by that is schools like Baylor, schools like, Texas Tech, SMU, right? SMU's national prominent in volleyball now. I think with a lot of Texas talent on their roster, I think you're going to have donors and ADs that say, okay, volleyball is important to the country. We need to go be better at it than anybody else. And I think that's a product of, the SEC does it in every sport, right? The last 10 years.
It just means more.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that's the proof's in the pudding in terms of you can build a roster in this state. And it's not just going to have to be, it doesn't have to be Texas alone. It can be A&M, it can be SMU, it can be Baylor, Texas Tech. It can be, I think TCU even, right? I think made a run last year and was, injury depleted this year. But it's a gold mine, and I think as volleyball continues to head down the path it's going from a recognition standpoint and a popularity standpoint, it's gonna. I think people are gonna start pouring more resources into it, and I think you're seeing that happen. A&M poured into volleyball because Jamie had a vision, and I don't know, 3 years later he's a national champion, which is really cool for the sport, for the state, for the conference, and his roster is mostly Texas kids. His contributors are for sure mostly Texas kids, mostly Houston, honestly. But yeah, it's all there. And it's going to be really cool, I think, to see how them, SMU, Baylor. I don't think Jarrett's sitting easy at Texas right now. I think he's happy, right, that the conference and the state is in that spot because it makes them want to be better. But he's not the lone dog anymore.
Where are you in your process for getting ready for the fall of 2026? As far as like, what is your schedule like?
Yeah, we actually just got we wanted to go get one transfer. And so we got her last week. Paperwork's not through, so can't say a whole lot. But and so we're gonna have 20 kids in the fall, and they're all gonna be, so 5 freshmen coming in July. So we'll have almost everybody for the spring. But we're pretty spring focused right now. We're gonna get to train every day from January 20th until April 24th during the week with some competitions in there. And so that's our focus right now. The fall is scheduling. We're gonna host a tournament. We're gonna try to go to Colorado for a tournament before the conference season gets going. But right now it's just a lot of spring prep because we're gonna get a whole lot of time with them, which is I'm looking forward to. I don't know how excited they are quite yet about how much volleyball we're gonna be playing in the spring, but that's priority number one.
Less than they did in club sports.
You're exactly right. And we're not doing it on sport court either. So, so very spring focused right now. Obviously with the intent that everything we do then is because of what we want to do in the fall.
Yeah.
One more point on volleyball before we head off to the drama that is Pete K versus Coach Boom.
I got one question, but go ahead.
Yeah, we don't love, giving Disney a lot of credit for things, but I think they do need to get some credit for finally moving the sport to one of their major broadcast channels. So the finals, the Final Four, were on ABC. So they weren't stuck on the Ocho like they've been done in years past. You didn't have to go make people find the championship game or any of the Final Four games. The regional games were all on ESPN or ESPN2. I'm glad to see they are finally recognizing what a made-for-TV sport volleyball is, and that they're taking advantage of that. And unlike their counterparts in the football world, they weren't afraid to counter-program the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really cool. Like I remember when the finals got put on ESPN2, and it was a big deal. So I don't know, 2009, 2010. Yeah. 2012 maybe, but it was like, oh, that's awesome, right? We're on ESPN2 on a Saturday night, and just watching that progression is like there was a regional. I think the Nebraska A&M match was on ABC, right? So it's like obviously that helps because it's Nebraska, but the fact that it's happening, period, it didn't matter really where. There's recognition of it, and it's a good time to be in volleyball,
especially in a world where fans of football and baseball, and I don't know if it works the same for basketball because I tune out, but are getting more and more frustrated to find out that they've got to go get some streaming network to get to watch. Putting it where people can watch your sport's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Shocking. Andy, before we get to A&M football, we will talk a little bit about A&M football, but Steve Sarkisian gave a press conference the other day in which he talked about part of the reason why he made the move from PK to Will Muschamp was to free up time. The indications now that have come out of Longhorn camp has been that Sark has felt like he had to be a lot more hands-on on the defense than he would have wanted to be. Here's my trying to do a burn orange glasses psychology look at it, and I want your guys' take. But PK never wanted to be head coach, none of that stuff. it almost makes you wonder if there was some kind of drive competitive thing maybe missing that Sark, I don't know, needed. I don't know. But if in fact Sark was having to be more involved in a defensive meeting than say maybe Mike Elko is involved in the offense, right? It would stand to reason that being able to completely trust that side of ball to somebody else makes some degree of sense if we're to take it at their word. Andy, let's go with you first on that. Am I just full of shit?
So my counter to that is, if you're the head coach of a football team, aren't you involved in all aspects of the team and not just focused on one thing?
Of course. But it does seem like maybe it was more.
My concern for your team, which is limited, I'll admit, is that Sark is the head coach. Sark should have oversight on the offense and the defense. And if he just wants to be the offensive coordinator, cool. But then his criticism of what Pete Katowski did or didn't do is really kind of silly if he didn't want to be involved and had to be. And then that's why the offense wasn't as good. It's kind of crying after the pain a little bit for me. And I don't get it. I also know that it's wildly out of context and there's a million things going on behind the scenes that none of us are privy to. It also begs the question of, was Pete K Sark's choice? Because I know he initially offered that job to Muschamp when he got the position several years ago. And then Pete K was, I don't want to say pushed on him, but recruited for him by some of the bigger donors, Kevin FT or whatever his name is.
Let's use a Astros comparison. Is this Jim Crane, James Click? Good at what their job, but if you can't work together and you can't find common ground.
And I think there's some of that, and maybe that's why Sark felt he needed to be more involved than he wanted to be. But I think the words that he chose to use feel a little disingenuous to me, because you're not the offensive coordinator. I
wouldn't have kicked him on the way out regardless. I would have just said philosophical differences and moved on with my day. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, from a coaching perspective, it's interesting because in volleyball, you're starting to head towards offensive and defensive coordinator roles, and head coaches are becoming more GMs, obviously with oversight and stuff. So I remember hearing or reading that line from Sark, and it was like, oh, I don't necessarily like the delivery there, but I understood if true, like if Andy, like you said, a lot of context that we're missing, but if he's being legitimate, if it's valid, then I get it, because he wants that time to either talk about NIL or go talk to boosters or like whatever that might be. So I'm hoping that it was more that than.
That's a good point, Jeremy, to cut you off. We assume what he meant was, I need more time for offense. We don't know if he meant I need more time to talk to recruits, to talk to NIL. He never actually said what he needed more time for. He just said he needed more time.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's my
hope. We've talked about a number of times that a program the size of the University of Texas, and in some way Texas is unique, maybe with a handful of other schools, that you aren't just the head coach of a football program. You are the face of the university in a lot of ways. You are the main fundraiser. You are 10 other jobs that most of us don't even conceive of having one of, and you have all of those. You're highly compensated for that, but there is a lot of demands on your time.
Yeah.
So if, we're taking him at his word, then yes, one thing off my plate where I can focus on these other 12 things, I get. The delivery didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
Because, and that's, again, my imagination of what a head coach is.
Yeah. And I think it's also value in, the hire. it makes sense. Like you said, it was Steve wanted him earlier, but having another head coach on your staff, like someone that's done it, I think adds a lot of value, at least at that level. I don't know when he was last a head coach or when that.
At South Carolina. It's been about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So some familiarity with the ground now, but
yeah, he's been at Georgia as co-DC, and then as an analyst, and then he didn't work this last fall, I believe.
Yeah, working on getting his kid recruited. But here's my thing, though. What I will say that to the other fan bases it's not like he has not been involved in football for 10 years, which is something I've seen people say. Like,
he hasn't been a defensive coordinator in 10 years. So
Yeah.
to the point that we're talking about here, he had 10 other things he had to do besides just focusing on the defense. So maybe that's the true love, and this is where he wants to be at this point in his career, and he can be all in on that.
we don't know if Blake Gideon's coming or not, though. We still don't know how Jessica would feel about it if he does show up. Okay, Andy. Look, I don't think A&M fans should take too much from. It's weird. It's kind of weird because the schedule for A&M, the schedule for the game, the schedule for A&M this year, the whole thing was a weird season. But that was a weird game inside of a weird season. I mean, the minute the elements start playing too big of a role, I think you just got to survive. And it felt like Miami figured out earlier in the process the best way to survive was just run straight at the A&M defense. And A&M never quite figured out how to survive on their part. And I think that's why Miami walked out 10-3. I don't think either of those teams looked that day like they had a shot in hell of beating who did they have Indiana next?
Ohio State.
But overall, where are you with that? How that game played out?
We had an 11-2 season in Elko's second year, so by any measure, it was a success. It did not end the way anybody wanted it to end, but every aspect except for one field goal and our quarterback play was good enough to win that game.
Sure.
Defense was lights out outside of literally one run. And if you hold Miami, who has a good offense, to 10 points, you're doing something right. Once again, our offense didn't show up. That comes down to quarterback play for me because Marcel Reed, the moment got bigger than him.
Here's what I'm impressed by you, Andy, because we were texting through the whole game, and I've seen many people of your fan base that are like, okay, just run it back, and not wanting to look at all in depth in anything. And you're saying quarterback position needs to be reopened. You need to have there had been issues throughout the season with the quarterback play that maybe had been covered by his raw athleticism in plays and other factors. You're not saying just run it back. You're saying you need to be.
I am sure Marcel Reed is a good kid, and I'm sure he has the best intentions, and I'm sure he tries really hard and does all the things he's supposed to do to get ready for a game. My issue with Marcel Reed, and you can take the name off the back of the jersey, it wouldn't matter. It's that he's not an accurate quarterback. And the number one determinant about whether or not you are a good college quarterback is how accurate you are with the ball. When a team could shut down our running game, it highlights his inaccuracy. And that's what happened with Texas in the second half. That's what happened against Miami. We weren't able to run the ball effectively outside of some broken plays. And then you're relying on an inaccurate quarterback to make accurate throws. And that's not a great combination. It doesn't put him in a position to succeed. So my thought process on this is, yes, he's going to be returning, barring some weird NIL stuff happening, because there's some made-up rumor, because that's what we're doing these days, that he is demanding $5 million a year to come back as quarterback. He's not getting $5 million anywhere. And if he is, he should have asked for that 3 weeks ago, because the price went down after Saturday. But I don't think that's true. I think that's fans trying to rationalize crap. Anyway, he should be given every opportunity to win the starting job. He's got the most experience. I think a third-year starting quarterback brings you intangibles that other quarterbacks might not be able to bring. So there's benefit to him coming back and winning that job. But if there is somebody in camp, whether it is a freshman or somebody sitting on the bench right now that can outperform him, do that through an extended spring and do that through the summer camp, absolutely should be given the job. I don't think any job on that team is safe because of the way the season ended. And I don't think you win or grow as a program, and I don't think Mike Elko believes this, by just putting the same guys in the same spots year after year, regardless of results.
Jeremy, overall, what are your thoughts on the Aggie season in that game?
I mean, I think like Andy said, it's a success. 11-2 in his second year is wild. I wouldn't have expected that. I think, to do it, for that game to go the way it went at home, to me, at least from a outsider's perspective or a non-Aggie fan perspective, seemed to just add icing to a really tough day for them. But I mean, they made the playoff. That's kind of the shtick right now. So I'm bummed they had a better year than we did. I also like our odds moving forward more than theirs. But yeah, they got there. I think that's kind of the end of the statement is they made the playoff, and that's at least at this point in time a win for them.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going anywhere. I mean, I do think Mike Elko is one not going to be going to Michigan as I've seen rumored. I guess now that Alabama won, their coach is not going to go to Michigan now. Somebody.
The NCAA is a weird place right now, so I don't know that. Lane Kiffin was trying to coach Ole Miss as of yesterday. Letting the state of Louisiana pay for it. We're going to have some challenges next year because we're going to have to replace a lot on our offensive line. We've got a question at quarterback. We've got to find a kicker somewhere. Those three things immediately pop to mind. The rest of the roster should be fairly solid. The schedule is going to get dramatically harder. And I don't want to dwell too much on the schedule. I think there's some validity to say that our schedule was easier at the end of the year than it looked like at the beginning of the year. And Texas's conversely looked a little bit easier than it turned out to be in reality, because teams don't necessarily perform to the paper that you get on them at the beginning of the year. The fact is A&M took advantage of the schedule they had, and they won the games they had in front of them. You can argue about who the opponents were, but ultimately you just play the guys in front of you, and they won the games. 11 of them. The sour taste in the mouth for our fan base is constantly that game in Austin because of how that turned out. It colored things poorly, and you end on a 2-game losing streak. Making the playoffs in Elko's second year, while he is still rebuilding a roster, is a big accomplishment. Our fan base will calm down and realize that at some point. But it's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of education. This is not any different than taking steps. The next step is going to be harder because it goes from being a pretty good team to trying to be an elite team. And that's the hardest step in sports. I don't think it's as hard to go from crappy or mediocre to good. I think good to great that's the hard step, and that's where we are right now. And I think Elko can do it, but I thought Jimbo could do it. I thought someone might be able to do it. I'm still waiting for that guy to show up.
Would you say you're battered, Andy?
I'm wearing my hat, but that's hard to do with the ladies. I will say this: the ladies gave me a reason to not put away part of my wardrobe.
That was worried. I mean, honestly, Jessica and I were both like, God, they have got to win this game because I cannot. I don't know what kind of show I'm gonna have.
I've got lots of Astros clothes that I can start wearing.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be a great season either, man.
Get my Mike Burrows jersey.
Yeah, good. You should get that. All right. Well, again, it's a bow in a really good season. I think one of the things about Texas, I think Texas takes a step forward next year. Jeremy, as I was trying to tell Andy the other day, like in 23 and 24, Texas lost on the last play of the game. I mean, so we've been there. One of the things though about Sark firing Kwiatkowski is he has turned the heat up on his own hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
He has gone all in on 2026, and I think he knows more about football than me. I think he probably knows what he's doing, but there's no more excuses. No one left to blame if things don't work out.
That's the other part of being the offensive coordinator or any coordinator when you're also the head coach is you don't get that year of replacing coordinators. And you just burned one of those by choice.
Yeah.
Because usually it's the boosters coming to you and go, you need to make a change. Yeah. All right, fine. My offensive coordinator is on the hot seat. No, that's gone now. It'll be really interesting. I also think that football fans are going to, in general, have to get used to the idea of a 3-loss team being pretty good because that 9th game in the SEC isn't easy. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be guaranteed 4 wins every year based on your non-con. So there's going to be a shift in perspective that I think all fans are going to need to have. And, I think the days of seeing a 12-0 team, there's going to be very few of them going forward.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, God bless JMU, God bless Tulane, but it really did. I mean, Nick Saban, for as much as it was an asshole thing to say, his we don't let AAA teams play in the World Series comment, honestly, was an accurate comment. And I think I'm not even going to stress too much about the playoff and 9 wins and everything, because I have a feeling we're going to be looking at going into next football season going to look way different than what we're looking at now. And I think that's why I'm not too worried about Texas still opening with a really, really hard schedule, because I don't think you're going to be being forced to pay the same penalty. Now, no one should play Notre Dame. Like, no one should play Notre Dame until they get in the conference.
I think the fact that the SEC and the Big Ten are now going to be in charge of the playoffs changes some of the calculus on that. And it's unfair to say, because everybody loves a Cinderella story. And I think in any other sport, it's kind of fun to watch. The NCAA basketball tournament, for instance, works because on any given day, and really with 2 good players on a good day, you can beat a higher level team. You wouldn't do it every game. You wouldn't survive in the conference that way, but you can win one game. Football is so dramatically different as a sport, how you build rosters, how you recruit those rosters, the level of talent, the disparity between teams, even 50 miles apart. JMU is the kind of school that Ole Miss or Oregon would have scheduled as a non-conference game and chalked up as a win.
Well, what I was going to say, and the example that I've used before, Jeremy, is we divide state championships by class, acknowledging that not every school has the same logistical advantage. I think maybe we should start doing that with football.
Well, and if you start talking about the money, of it, as in the NCAA takes more and more from the playoffs from football, why wouldn't you want to have multiple national championships? Why wouldn't you want to have a Group of Five national championship and then a bigger one? It's just more TV money, more merch money, more everything money. And if we're going to play the money game, I mean, that's part of the reason Texas football does it that way, is because you have more opportunity for more kids and programs to say, we want a championship.
Yeah.
Otherwise, North Shore would win it every year.
Galena Park. Remember how good they used to be? All right, guys. Well, that does. Thanks so much for joining us. Orbit's ready to go too. For our special guest, Jeremy Garcia. Jeremy, good luck volleyball season. We'll have you on before you guys get started in the fall. For Andy, happy last day of Hanukkah to our friends who celebrate. Merry Christmas. And now, Dandy Don Meredith again is taking us out. See ya.
Turn out the lights. The party's over.